For years I pursued Tingyu relentlessly. Yet he never looked my way. He favored dignified women like my elder sister, scolding me time and again for my reckless audacity. On the day His Majesty bestowed our betrothal, he sought me out and admonished me with stern, icy gravity. Once you become a wife of the Shui household, he declared, you must shed this pride. The Shui clan is a centuries-old lineage, its reputation must never be tarnished. Gazing into his cool, dignified eyes, my heart grew still for the first time. No longer stirred. That night, my cousin the Crown Prince and Shui Tingyu came to see me after hearing I was drunk. The moment Shui Tingyu saw me, he scolded me for behaving unbecoming of a noble lady. Nothing like my elder sister. I pushed his hand away in hurt and threw myself into my cousin the Crown Prince's arms, sobbing as I asked him, I'll break off my engagement. Will you marry me instead? Shui Tingyu served as the Crown Prince's junior tutor, instructing the heir in the palace. Back then, I adored him beyond measure. I begged my aunt, the Empress, and my cousin, the Crown Prince, to enroll me in his lessons, all to see him more often. To protect my reputation, my aunt selected several other noble ladies of marriageable age to attend the lessons with me. Among them was my elder sister. Though we shared the same mother, our personalities could not have been more different. She was dignified and proper, the epitome of a noble lady in the capital, while I was restless and mischievous. People often used me as a foil to elevate her. I never cared much about their insinuations that I fell short of my sister. That is, until Shui Tingyu dragged me away in the street, his voice sharp with rebuke. Only then did I realize that in his eyes, I would never measure up to my elder sister. What kind of background do you come from? Daring to defend a courtesan in public. You're bringing shame upon the Shin family. When will you ever be as steady as your elder sister? Consider the family's reputation. Inside the carriage, his tirade tore me down completely. Are prostitutes not human beings? Zhou Han, relying on his father's status as a third-rank official, treated human life as worthless. That girl was nearly beaten to death by him. Since I witnessed it, I couldn't just pretend I hadn't seen anything. My heart ached at his harsh words, and I couldn't help but argue back. He glared at me coldly, you're incorrigible. The prefect of the capital handles such reckless disregard for life. What business do you have? An unmarried girl, sticking your neck out in public? You've made a mistake and show no remorse. Go back and copy the rules for women 10 times. I'll check tomorrow morning. If you miss a single word, you'll copy it 10 more times. I bit my lip, my eyes stinging uncontrollably. Wiping them hastily, I glared back defiantly, choking back sobs as I protested loudly, I did nothing wrong. You're unreasonable, I won't copy it. The carriage halted at our doorstep. Before the servant could fetch a step stool, I leapt down and ran home, overcome with sorrow. Shui Tingyu, furious, smashed a cup and followed me out of the carriage, his face cold as he entered. Hurrying forward, I didn't notice I'd bumped into someone. By the time I realized, I'd already collided head-on. What's wrong? I looked up to see Chuheng. The tears I'd held back instantly spilled. Cousin. His expression softened as he gently took my arm. Seeing my tear-streaked face, the faint smile on his lips deepened. He led me to the pavilion, gently wiping my tears while pouring tea, asking softly what had happened. After listening to my tearful complaints, he ruffled my hair. You did nothing wrong. How could you bring shame upon the Shin family? Others will only praise Shin family girls for their kindness. The pent-up grievance I'd been holding vanished at those words. Feeling better? I smiled through my tears and nodded. He smiled too, tucking away the handkerchief damp with my tears. If you're feeling better, go wash your face. It's nearly time for the meal. I have official duties to attend to. If anything comes up, send someone to the East Palace to inform me. I'll handle everything. When I finished getting ready and stepped out, I saw my elder sister and Yu painting in the courtyard. Yu held my sister's hand lightly, transforming the rough, clumsy sketch into a vibrant, lifelike masterpiece. They were a perfect match. A handsome man and a beautiful woman, standing together in utter harmony. My heart felt bitter and sour. Yet I couldn't deny how perfectly matched they were. My sister caught sight of me out of the corner of her eye. A fleeting smile touched her eyes before she sternly scolded me. I hear you've not only been consorting with courtesans but also shown disrespect to the Grand Tutor. How many times did I tell you at home to respect your teachers and honor your elders? Come apologize to Master Shui immediately. Yu set down his brush and was assisted by servants in washing his hands. He stood aloof, endorsing my sister's words, waiting for my apology. With our parents still alive, why must you strut around like a big shot? I snapped, my temper flaring. I've done nothing wrong. Why should I apologize? I turned to leave. Yu flicked his hand, sending his handkerchief flying with just the right force to splash water from the copper basin. His expression turned icy. Who gave you permission to speak to your elder sister like that? Respect for elders is fundamental. Is this what you've learned from your Confucian studies? You can't tell right from wrong. Clearly, you haven't been studying the right books. Furious, I hurled the insult and ran off, ignoring Yu's displeased expression. The day before entering the palace for studies, I heard Zhou Han had been reported to the prefect of the capital. Not only must he redeem the courtesan he beat half to death, but he must also compensate her for medical treatment. Hearing this news, I was overjoyed. Had my father not confined me to my quarters, I would have personally taken a physician to examine the girl's injuries. Last night, before leaving, Yu reported my actions to father. My elder sister added fuel to the fire with her exaggerations. In his rage, father confined me to the ancestral hall, forbidding me to eat until I copied the rules for women 10 times. My stomach growled unbearably. Suddenly, the window outside shifted, and a young girl climbed in. My eyes lit up. She was the attendant who served my cousin in his study, tending to his writing needs. She pulled oil paper-wrapped meat pies and roasted chicken from her bosom, handed them to me, then calmly took the brush from my grasp. Mimicking my handwriting, she began methodically copying the rules for women. Seeing me wolf down the food, she sighed helplessly. Eat slowly, young lady. No one will come. His Highness has already pleaded your case with Minister Shin. Once I finish copying, you can take this to fulfill your duty and then leave. I gobbled my food, too busy to speak, only nodding and slurring. My cousin is so kind. She smiled. His Highness cherishes you. After eating my fill, I carried a stack of Xian paper, its ink still not quite dry, to find my father. Yu was playing chess with him in my father's study. When he saw me enter, the warmth in his eyes cooled again, as if I were some kind of unwelcome intruder. I handed the copied rules for women to my father. Yu placed a stone on the board, his fingertip caressing the smooth piece before addressing my father. Your lordship. Give it to me. Yes. Yes. You are this child's teacher. Yu examined each page with great care, not skipping a single one. The slight frown that had creased his brow now vanished like a spring breeze. How utterly neglected must I be for him to fail to recognize this wasn't my handwriting at all. Recognizing your mistake is what matters. I've told you countless times before, your handwriting. I urged you and your elder sister to study diligently. Her delicate floral-style cursive was even praised by His Majesty. Graceful yet dignified. But you? Your strokes are sharp and reckless, standing out like a sore thumb. Not a trace of our ancestors' calligraphy in it. He droned on and on, seemingly without end. My elder sister is the moon in the heavens, I am the mud beneath her feet. I can never measure up to her. This made me so angry I could hardly breathe. What's sticking out like a sore thumb? What lacking the brushwork of our ancestors? He simply believes that as a woman, I should be a piece of wood within the confines of his framework, to be manipulated at his whim, without the slightest hint of defiance. What displeased him was never my bold, unconventional brushwork. He simply disliked me. I mocked myself, you're right, master. I'm just too impatient to master the graceful elegance of small script calligraphy. Unlike my elder sister, I lack refinement and poise. Though I deeply admire the late Master Wang, I prefer to wield my brush with wild abandon. You'd be better off not wasting your time on a stubborn student like me. By the end of my words, my throat ached unbearably. Suppressing my trembling, the quivering of my voice collided with my tear ducts, making them burn. Such self-deprecating words made me sick. Enough already. He pressed his lips together, his fingers clenching the xian paper until they turned white. His gaze fixed on my face, and the atmosphere grew unbearably tense. My father hurriedly interjected with a smile, Ah Cheong hasn't eaten all day. She should go rest and have something to eat. She's entering the palace tomorrow. Your cousin was just asking about her today. I rose and left without expression, not sparing Xue Tingyu a single glance. Once, I adored him intensely, wishing my eyes could cling to him. Even a single extra glance filled me with contentment. A word from him, a single glance his way, could sustain my happiness for days. Now, though I see him daily, even one more look at him feels suffocating, the pent-up frustration in my chest refusing to ease. I bumped into my elder sister carrying a food box. The rosy flush on her cheeks faded slightly at the sight of me. Ah Cheong. The Xue family is a century-old lineage. 4 generations. Their sons have served as imperial tutors. They value reputation above all. With your temperament, you're destined to be unfit as the matriarch of the Xue household, let alone its headmistress. You'll only bring shame upon the master for having a wife like you. Sister Cheong, find someone else to love. Our cousin the crown prince treats you differently than others. Just give him to me. Will you? You've never been clever. Falling short of me in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Why bother competing with me? For the first time, I didn't erupt into a heated argument. Instead, I sneered coldly. Fine. Marry him. He likes you anyway. I don't want him anymore. After saying this, I felt inexplicably relieved. A wave of exhilaration washed over me from the inside out, sweeping away all the pent-up frustration in my heart. It felt as though everything had always been meant to be this way. Xin Qiong! Xue Tingyu stepped out from behind me, raising his voice sharply to rebuke me. What nonsense are you up to now? He was angry with me again. I turned back, irritation in my voice. Xue Tingyu, are you sick? I didn't bully her. Without another glance, I walked away, eventually breaking into a run. Only when no one was around did I secretly pull the blanket over my head and cry softly, afraid someone might hear and laugh at me. Why did liking Xue Tingyu make me so miserable? Why did he act like a lunatic, insisting on opposing me every single day? Why is Xue Tingyu so gentle and kind to everyone else, yet so harsh and relentless with me? Am I really that repulsive to him? Probably. He's always preferred dignified women like my elder sister, scolding me more than once for being wild and reckless. Forget it. Forget it. I thought. Covering my face, I won't like Xue Tingyu anymore. Loving Xue Tingyu is just too painful. After resolving to stop loving him, my mood lifted considerably. Upon entering the palace, before Xue Tingyu arrived to teach, my sister and I switched seats. Before, My seat was closest to Xue Tingyu. I could see his fingers correcting our assignments with just a glance upward, and looking up further, I'd see his face. The one I longed for day and night. My sister's seat was at the back, closer to my cousin, the crown prince. He asked why my eyes were swollen, if I'd been crying in secret. I shook my head without answering. He went to the imperial kitchen, fetched a boiled egg, peeled it, and placed it over my eyes. Wait here, he said. I've had a bowl of Qingluqian tea brewed to reduce the swelling. I'll bring it to you. All right. I waited obediently, applying the egg to my eyes using the circular massage technique Chu Heng had just demonstrated. No eating in class. Shin Qiong. Stand up. The egg clattered to the floor, opening my eyes. I saw Xue Tingyu entering from outside, his expression grim. I couldn't understand. Did I really anger him that much? Why did he have to be so angry all the time? He's sick. Who gave you permission to switch seats? He slammed his book onto the desk, nearly snarling his command. No seat changes during my class. Shin Qiong. Switch back. Or get out. I turned and walked out the back door. Xue Tingyu froze in place. For the first time, I had defied his orders. Sir, my younger sister is being willful. Please don't lose your temper. My elder sister's gentle, apologetic voice drifted through the curtain. Utterly unruly. Unfit for responsibility. Let her go. The icy, piercing voice sounded distant, yet every word fell into my ears through the quiet corridor. Utterly unruly. Unfit for responsibility. Xue Tingyu. What kind of person do you want me to become? What responsibilities do you expect me to shoulder? I found a step along the path Chu Heng must take to return and sat there waiting for him. The spring scenery in the palace was splendid, perfect for writing. Chu Heng rounded the corner carrying a food box and spotted me, quickening his pace. Why are you out? He asked. He scrutinized my face with grave expression. Only after confirming no tears remained did he relax, opening the box to pour me a cup of swelling-reducing tea. I sipped slowly. The tea tasted bitter and unpleasant. But since Chu Heng had brewed it himself, I couldn't waste it. After I finished, he took the bowl, gently wiped the last traces of liquid from my lips with a handkerchief, and offered me a prepared hawthorn candy. Time for class. Otherwise, Master Xue will be displeased with you again. Achiong adores Master Xue. If she gets scolded, she'll surely hide away and cry. His tone lightened considerably as he said this, teasing me playfully. I knew he was trying to cheer me up. I don't want to attend his class anymore. I want to ride horses. Chu Heng smiled faintly. Are you certain? Master Xue is the current head of the Xue clan. His future wife will be chosen from among the 8 young ladies who study with you. The Xue family was a centuries-old lineage that had once backed the impoverished founding emperor with vast resources in his quest for the throne. After the founding emperor ascended the throne, the Xue family had voluntarily surrendered his military authority, choosing instead the path of imperial tutor, a noble, detached role far from the seat of power. At 8, Xue Tingyu accompanied envoys on diplomatic missions to foreign lands. Debating scholars with such eloquence, he was hailed as the foremost young scholar among the 4 nations. He achieved the triple top honors in the imperial examinations, becoming the youngest Shuangyuan laureate since the dynasty's founding. When the 4 nations invaded, his ingenious strategies stabilized the crumbling empire without losing a single soldier. He was the imperial tutor, the pillar of Great Chu whose brilliance bordered on the supernatural. Such a man, towering above the common world, captivated young ladies even without seeing his face. Merely hearing his deeds was enough to stir their hearts. Moreover, paintings capturing his radiant features had long circulated throughout the streets and alleys, coveted by noble ladies in the capital. I, too, was once among them. Through my aunt, the Empress, I enjoyed a privileged proximity to this favored son of heaven for many years. Now, I have awakened. In this world, everything can be forced. Only love cannot be compelled. It no longer matters. I no longer wish to marry him. I spoke with light-hearted ease, my eyes and brows radiating joy. An unprecedented sense of freedom washed over me. It should have been this way all along. For years, I'd held on to resentment, tormenting myself over a perceived injustice. Looking back, it was utterly foolish. That first, youthful infatuation, a reckless courage, determined to keep charging headlong into a brick wall. Only when my head was split open did I finally feel the pain. Finally awaken. Chu Hung wore a black dragon-embroidered robe, the jade pendant at his waist clinking softly in the breeze, a pleasing sound. He held out his hand to me, his tone as light and cheerful as mine. Come, let me take you horseback riding. The imperial stables held fine steeds, robust and well-fed. I changed into a form-fitting, sturdy Hu-style riding outfit, a dagger at my waist. One hand gripped the reins, the other held the whip as I raced side by side with Chu Hung. My crimson robes fluttered wildly. A cool breeze swept through my hair and sheer garments, as if a fiery sun blazed upon me. He wore sleek black attire, accented with ochre-red fabric at his waist and cuffs, black and red, the most revered colors of our great Chu. How foolish I had been before, forsaking such carefree days to follow Yu, bound by countless constraints. Yu disliked me wearing bright colors, finding them ostentatious and improper. To fit his vision of a proper noblewoman, I donned plain clothes, hiding my sharp edges, ever fearful of drawing attention. He disliked my horseback riding and archery too, deeming them crude, and forced me to learn music and painting. Yet no matter how hard I studied, until I could play beautiful melodies with my eyes closed, until my brushwork earned praise from the grand scholar and his peers, I never received a single word of affirmation from him. Not even a passable would come. Chu Hung reached the finish line before me. Ah Cheong, you look stunning in red, radiant and brilliant. Your horsemanship is exquisite, though a bit rusty from lack of practice. I stretched lazily, the relief popping out of my bones. Yes. It's been too long. I'll come ride with you every day from now on. Very well. We trotted back slowly, chatting and laughing. My smile vanished completely when I spotted the white-robed young master standing outside the fence. Yu stared at me coldly. I shot him a frosty glance before looking away. Chu Hung reined in his horse and spoke gently. Your favorite tea and snacks are waiting in the pavilion. Go enjoy them. Leave the class matters to me, I'll handle it. It wasn't important anyway, it was just routine family affairs. I nodded, urging my chestnut horse toward the pavilion. Dismounting, my gaze fell upon the two figures beyond the fence. I couldn't tell what Chu Hung and Yu had discussed, but Chu Hang's expression remained gentle, a faint smile playing at his lips, his demeanor impeccable. Yu, however, showed no appreciation. His face darkened noticeably, turning ashen by the end as he glared at Chu Hung. I pursed my lips, inwardly scoffing. Yu had some nerve, showing such a sour face even before the crown prince. Yu swept his sleeve and left, his steps unsteady, his dark eyes fixed on me with a look of utter disarray. I took a bite of my pastry and asked Chu Hung, Cousin, what did you say to him? Chu Hung lowered his horsewhip, his eyes sparkling with amusement. I told him you no longer care for him and have no desire to become a Shui family bride. Naturally, the lessons are cancelled. His voice trailed off with an unconsciously raised inflection, his phoenix-like eyes crinkling with delight. It dawned on me, so simple. I'd thought we'd need to involve my aunt in this. If I'd known, I would have handled it myself. Chu Hung sighed regretfully. If I'd known, I would have let you handle it. After returning home, I had a thorough talk with father. Now, I no longer have feelings for Xue Tingyu. My elder sister cares for him, and both I and father understand the implications of court lessons. I won't attend them anymore, thus avoiding further gossip. No matter how I explained it, father refused to believe I'd voluntarily given up Xue Tingyu. His disinterest in you is actually a blessing. His reputation is too prominent, drawing excessive attention. To be his wife would mean not only managing the household but also navigating countless open and hidden threats. Your elder sister is indeed more suited for that role. I offered no defense. All I wanted was to sever all ties with Xue Tingyu from this day forward. To have no further entanglement. Even if misunderstood. I stood to lose nothing. Father waved me back to my quarters, then ordered the steward to select numerous items from the storeroom as compensation. Father will certainly find you a good marriage, one no less prestigious than the Xue family. Plans changed before they could be implemented. Before father could arrange a husband for me, the imperial edict betrothing me to Xue Tingyu arrived at the Shin residence first. I stubbornly asked the eunuch, the edict mentions the eldest daughter of the Shin family, could it be my elder sister? Under my expectant gaze, the eunuch shot me a coquettish glare, then swayed her hips and hummed, "Of course it's you. Second young miss. How long have you been trailing behind young Master Xue? If he doesn't catch on soon, this old servant will start worrying." This decree was personally drafted by Her Majesty the Empress. Master Xue was present in the hall and gave his approval. My eyes rolled back, and I fainted. Marry Xue Tingyu? What difference is that from marrying a pedantic scholar who beats my palms daily? No. Xue Tingyu is even more terrifying than a pedantic scholar. Not only does he beat people, but he's also ill. That vile tongue of his is terrifying. The eunuch chuckled. Oh my. The young miss has fainted from joy. At first, my father thought I was overjoyed too. Only after I woke up, crying and screaming I won't marry him. Hundreds of times. Did he finally believe me? You'll marry him whether you like it or not. Unless you dare defy the imperial decree and drag our entire family down with you. Xue Tingyu is the future head of the Xue clan. My father's words froze my tears in their tracks. He stormed out, sleeves flapping. I curled up on the bed, hugging my knees, guzzling from the wine jug while sobbing silently. Damn Xue Tingyu. He doesn't even like me, why did he agree? If he hadn't consented, who would dare force him? Not even the imperial uncle could defy him. The more I thought about it, the more miserable I felt. The thought of spending the rest of my life enduring Xue Tingyu's scolding and cold stares made me wish I could die right now. He forbids me from riding horses, wearing pretty clothes, or eating spicy food. Even at meals. If I take 2 extra bites of a dish, he scolds me for being greedy. The more I thought about it, the more I broke down. I tossed aside the wine jar and ran crying toward the pond in the courtyard. Without a second thought, I plunged in. After a while, seeing no one came for me, I swam back to shore on my own. I felt even more miserable. I tearfully accused my maid, "You heartless creature. Why didn't you save me?" The maid looked skyward. "Speechless, miss. You grew up by the lake. I grew up in the capital. If I went in, I'd need you to save me. Besides, everyone knows you swim like a duck. Stop acting out, my little darling. Go back and lie down." I stormed off in indignation. Before long, Chu Heng and Xue Tingyu arrived together. Chu Heng frowned and urged the imperial physician by his side to examine me, even bringing a pot of freshly simmered chicken soup to feed me. Xue Tingyu, however, came empty-handed. Worse still, he berated me harshly in front of others. "Where is the dignity of a noble lady in you? When will you ever match your elder sister's composure? Do you have any idea how many official duties I must attend to daily? Did you deliberately make yourself look like this just to draw me here? Is this amusing? Shin Qiong." He admonished me sternly and coldly. Once you become a woman of the Shui family, you must not carry on with such arrogance. The Shui family is a centuries-old lineage, its reputation must not be tarnished. I stared at his cold, dignified features. My heart for the first time as still as water. No longer stirred. He snatched the chicken soup Chu Heng had given me and said coldly, "You are not to eat or drink anything today. Reflect on your actions." He slammed the bowl of soup onto the table, spilling the contents and wasting it all. My eyes burned with fury. "Shui Tingyu, you're insane. Do you know why I tried to jump into the river? Because of that imperial decree forcing me to marry you. The thought of spending every day with you makes me wish I were dead." His cold, handsome face turned deathly pale. "What did you say? You don't want to marry me?" His anger vanished, replaced by unprecedented confusion. "Why? Haven't you always begged for this marriage? Now that I've granted your wish, what more could you possibly want?" The lingering effects of the pear blossom white wine weighed heavily on my mind. My dazed thoughts clinging to the last shreds of reason fueled by fury. I threw back the covers and stepped out of bed, barefoot, advancing toward him step by step, my voice thick with uncontrollable sobs. I loathe how pathetic I become. Tears and tremors always take over whenever we argue. How arrogant of you to say that. Scholar Shui. What gives you the right to demand I forever love you from a position of weakness? I used to love you, but I don't anymore. Is that not allowed? I've had enough of your accusations and humiliation. I don't want you anymore. Is that not acceptable? The more I spoke, the more cathartic it felt. In your eyes, I'll never measure up to my elder sister. Then marry her. Why marry me? Are you insane? I lost control and roared, years of pent-up resentment surging to my throat, gripping Shui Tingyu's robe collar. I glared at him fiercely, my teeth clenched as I hurled accusations. You said noble ladies should master the zither. I drilled relentlessly for years, my fingers calloused through seasons. Yet never once did you offer praise. I've strived to learn, chasing after my sister, trying to emulate her every move, like the man from Handan who tried to walk like the men of the capital, or the ugly woman who tried to copy the beauty's looks, making a complete fool of myself. But is my playing truly that poor? Was I really that worthless before? I play polo better than any girl in the capital. My horsemanship is unmatched. I can draw bows men struggle with. I dared infiltrate bandit lairs alone to take their leaders' heads. You always say my calligraphy is too bold, lacking my elder sister's grace. Yet even the grand scholars of the Hanlin Academy cannot match my brushwork. Even that old stick-in-the-mud Chancellor Zhou, who believes women are inferior to men, once praised me for embodying the spirit of our late Master Wang. How is it that to you, it becomes sharp and reckless? He frowned, his voice cold and sharp. A woman's beauty lies in gentleness and grace. Had I not compared you to your elder sister all these years? How could I have spurred you to study so diligently? Instead of gratitude, you harbor resentment. Your mind is narrow indeed. At these words, Chu Heng's brows shot up, his dark eyes flashing with icy coldness. Shui Tingyu, cease your insolence. He was the gentle crown prince praised throughout the court and beyond. For the first time, he wielded his authority to intimidate someone. For me, I released Shui Tingyu's robe and suddenly smiled. Truthfully, I'm grateful to you, Shui Tingyu. Because no matter what, whether it was the art of the zither or the skill of painting, I truly mastered these things. But my original intention was to learn them to please you. Now that I've mastered them, all I feel toward you is loathing. After whispering this, the alcohol hit me, and I stumbled unsteadily. Get out. Shui Tingyu. I hate you. He stormed off in fury, his lips pressed so tightly they bled. Chu Heng anxiously caught me and laid me on the bed. His voice was as warm and soothing as ever, inexplicably bringing tears to my eyes. With my brother here, No one can force you into marriage. I grasped his hand. My voice choked with tears. What if I break off the engagement and marry you instead? I know my free-spirited nature makes me unsuitable for a crown princess. But I can learn. I can appear dignified in public. I'll strive to manage the Eastern Palace. I just love riding horses, wearing bright clothes, and eating a bit more than others. But I don't want to change. Remembering the agony of hunger, I shook my head tearfully at him. Brother, I don't want to change. No one is forcing you to change. He tightened his grip on my hand. Be my crown princess consort. You needn't alter a single thing, only fulfill one request. Under my bewildered, questioning gaze, he spoke slowly. It is enough that it is you. Ah Cheong. Through drowsy eyes, my consciousness grew hazy as memories of the past flooded back. Mother died young. Father never even had a concubine. The Marquis's household lacked a woman to hold the reins. I was born prematurely. The imperial physician declared I wouldn't live past 8. It was my aunt, the Empress, who brought me to the palace to raise me. Her marriage was a splendid phoenix robe, all dignity and prestige, devoid of affection. Her beloved young general had long since fallen on the battlefield. When she learned of my affection for Yu, she went to great lengths to bring us together, even sending me his writings and poetry collections. She wished my marriage would not be a political alliance, but born solely from my own heart. She wished for my happiness. But, Auntie, you never told me that loving the wrong person brings only pain. Never happiness. Happiness requires mutual affection between two people. His Majesty summoned me to the palace. Yu and he were playing chess in the study. Upon seeing me, the emperor stroked his beard kindly. Ah Cheong, why have you changed your mind about marrying Yu again? I knelt and kowtowed in greeting. In the past, this humble maiden was rash, mistaking admiration for affection. Now I have awakened to the truth. I beg your Majesty to revoke the decree. Yu's fingers paused mid-move. His Majesty smiled warmly at him. What do you think? Yu? The imperial decree mentioned the Shin family's legitimate daughter. Why not betroth their eldest daughter to you instead? I've often heard you say Ah Cheong doesn't compare to her elder sister. I imagine you've long favored her sister. The eldest Miss Shin is not yet betrothed. How can her reputation be treated as a jest? Our relationship is strictly that of teacher and student. Nothing improper. The emperor laughed heartily. In that case, consider your marriage to Ah Cheong merely one of my jests. I hereby revoke it. Ah Cheong, go visit your aunt. Your cousin awaits you. I thanked him and departed. Even as I walked far away, I never heard Yu say whether it was good or bad. Out of the corner of my eye, I only saw his tense fingers and that precariously balanced white chess piece. Most likely, he too breathed a sigh of relief, feeling fortunate he wouldn't have to marry me. My aunt had me stay in her palace for the next few days. In the past, I always thought that as long as you liked it, it was enough. I forgot that this matter requires mutual affection. It's my fault for teaching you only to force things, leaving you with nothing but stubbornness. I shook my head. At the very least, Yu possesses genuine talent and learning. These past years, I truly learned something by following him. It's always good to have some use. What's feared is spending time and gaining nothing but wounds. Stay here these days. Soon, your cousin will petition for your hand before the throne hall. The emperor will summon you then. I lowered my gaze and nodded in agreement. I'm not that foolish. The emperor would never risk his reputation for breaking his word without Chu Hang's considerable mediation. Otherwise, how could the Son of Heaven, whose word is law, simply retract his decree? My aunt sighed softly. It's all my fault. But this marriage was scholarly Yu's own proposal to His Majesty. I merely agreed in passing. How did it come to this? I smiled faintly. The imperial decree stated to request the hand of the eldest daughter of the Shin family. They sought to marry my sister. Not me. You mistook it for me. She waved her hand dismissively. Those pedantic scholars speak so ambiguously. Never mind. My Hunger is a good boy. Had he told me sooner that he had feelings for you, none of this would have happened. 3 days later in the Grand Hall, Chu Heng knelt before His Majesty to request my hand in marriage. Xue Tingyu stepped forward to intercede. Shin Qiong is my student. She is stubborn and reckless. Unfit to be crown princess. She lacks the skills to manage household affairs. How could she assist His Highness in governing the Eastern Palace? I find the eldest daughter of the Shin family most suitable, gentle, graceful, and a worthy match for His Highness. Standing outside the hall, Xue Tingyu's words made me tremble with rage. How dare he disparage me like this before the entire court? Does he realize that after court adjourns, these words will spread across the land? My reputation will be utterly ruined. No one will ever seek my hand in marriage again. And I will become a laughingstock to the world. Everyone will think, a woman deemed unworthy by the foremost young master of the 4 kingdoms must be utterly despicable. How much must he hate and despise me to treat me this way? Chu Heng's gentle voice carried a barely perceptible chill. Acheong grew up in the palace. Though spirited and bold, she remains endearingly kind-hearted, far from the wretched creature the junior tutor describes. His Majesty watched her grow up, as did the elder ministers gathered here. Her horsemanship is exceptional. Trained under Grand Marshal Jiang. Grand Marshal Jiang chuckled. Scholar Xue, how can you speak of your own student like that? Little Acheong is also my pupil. She's as obedient as can be. Her horsemanship is superb, and she holds her teachers in the highest regard. Even when the snow cuts like knives, she never forgets to pay her respects to me each year. Chu Heng continued. Acheong studied calligraphy under Chancellor Zhou, and her swordsmanship was taught by Grand Tutor Zhang. Acheong has already mastered the noble bearing of Master Wang in her calligraphy. How could such a child have poor character? Moreover, her noble birth makes her the most suitable candidate for crown princess. Acheong uses the swordsmanship taught by her master to eliminate bandits. She draws her sword to aid those in need when she sees injustice. To this day, people on the streets praise the fine daughter of the Shin family. Chu Heng coldly confronted Xue Tingyu. Acheong is not solely your pupil. How is it that among all her teachers, only you, junior tutor Xue, harbor such aversion toward her? I do not detest her. A eunuch serving His Majesty spoke in a thin voice. Your Majesty, the second young lady of the Shin family requests an audience. Admit her. Xue Tingyu and I locked eyes, heavy with meaning. I knelt and declared, enunciating each word, Master Xue believes this servant lacks the gentle and dignified demeanor befitting a household. Unfit to be crown princess. From this day forward, this servant is willing to learn. I beg your Majesty for 1 year to do so. I did not wish to place Chu Heng in a difficult position, nor did I want the world to mock him for marrying a crown princess lacking virtue and talent. His reputation for gentleness and integrity was known throughout the land. Everyone recognized the current crown prince as a pure and filial heir. Is this not what love is? You consider me, and I consider you. He had considered me, now I must consider him, rather than continually placing him in a difficult position. His Majesty smiled. Excellent. Excellent. Since Minister Xue finds Acheong lacking in propriety and household management, this year shall be devoted to you teaching her well. Xue Tingyu's voice trembled. Your servant obeys the command. His Majesty spoke gently to me. Acheong, for this year, you shall reside in the Eastern Palace and learn proper etiquette from the matrons. The Eastern Palace has matrons specifically trained to teach you. Study diligently, and do not disappoint your imperial uncle. I knelt and replied, your humble daughter obeys the command. And so I moved into the East Palace, where Xue Tingyu had prepared the finest courtyard for me. The matrons teaching me etiquette in the East Palace were all seasoned veterans of the palace. They had dealt with all manner of noble ladies and were not gentle in their methods. At first, Chu-hung was uneasy and brought his official duties to the place where I was learning etiquette to conduct business. I sent him away. With him present, the matrons would be constrained by his status and dare not teach me properly. Each morning I studied etiquette with the matrons, and at noon Xue Tingyu would come to teach me. On my first day with the matrons, we broke an entire set of disciplinary rulers. The pain made my tears stream down my face. Given my former temper, I would have thrown that wretched matron out. During breaks, Chu-hung came to apply ointment, not wanting him to see my tears. I washed my face before returning. He smiled and asked, "What did you learn today, Ah-cheong?" I snorted, "I'm awesome. I can balance a teacup on my head and walk a full circle now." My voice trailed off, but when I turn around to come back, I can't keep it steady, the cup falls. That's exactly why I got punished today. Chu-hung set down the ointment and clapped for me with a smile. "Ah-cheong is amazing. You can balance a teacup and walk a full circle. You know what? It took Mother 3 whole days to learn that. You're already amazing." My eyes lit up. "Really? Of course it's true." He took my hand and applied the ointment. I couldn't help but grin. Lifting my chin proudly, "I'll definitely master walking back around tomorrow." "Of course. Our Ah-cheong is the best. Look. You learned horseback riding in just half a day. It took me 2 days. You're naturally smart. As long as you're willing to learn, there's nothing you can't master." I'd been exhausted and resentful earlier, not even wanting to attend Xue Tingyu's afternoon class. He'd surely assign piles of tedious material for me to memorize. But somehow, with just one sentence, Chu-hung swept away all my frustration and exhaustion. Suddenly, I found myself looking forward to the afternoon class. Sure enough, Xue Tingyu arrived with a stern expression and piled on a mountain of material for me to memorize. Flipping through the books, I realized he wasn't taking revenge. These were indeed the classics a crown princess or empress would need to commit to memory. I immersed myself in memorization. Whenever I encountered unfamiliar meanings or characters, I marked them with my pen. During dinner that evening, I showed them all to Chu-hung. "Eat first, Ah-cheong. Don't think about these things while you're eating." After dinner, he patiently explained each one to me. "Ah-cheong, you're amazing. You remembered it all after just one go." I smiled and nodded. Yes. Yes. I'm the smartest. Right? He mimicked my words. "Yes. Yes. Our Ah-cheong is the smartest." We laughed together. His voice softened. "Ah-cheong, Xue Tingyu is a walking encyclopedia. Now that His Majesty has appointed him as your tutor, he'll be with you at least for this year. With such a brilliant teacher available, why not make use of him?" "Ah-cheong?" My smile faded. My voice heavy with disappointment. "I don't like him. I don't want to talk to him. He belittled me like that. Everyone's laughing at me. Face is something you earn back. Ah-cheong. Soon, you'll be crown princess. They'll all come to pay their respects to you. Once they see your every word and deed, they'll know the rumors are untrue. Don't be stubborn, Ah-juin. Learn to use everything and everyone to your advantage. Holding on to pride only harms your health and interests. It's not worth it. Think of him as a book containing the answers you seek. Once you've mastered the knowledge, you'll make him look at you with newfound respect. You're an exceptional young woman. If he misses out on you, he'll regret it." I asked him uncertainly, "Am I really that good?" "But I'm not as good as my sister." I lowered my head again, overwhelmed by an inexplicable sense of inferiority. No matter how much I claimed not to care in front of others, deep down, I did. In this world, everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. There are many things you can do that your sister cannot. The Ah-cheong I remember was a confident young lady who dared to say her horsemanship was the best among the noble ladies of the capital. My mood lifted instantly. You always know how to cheer me up. His smile was warm. Ah, Cheong. You're so easy to please. Early the next morning, when learning etiquette from the matron, I focused with absolute intensity. After enduring 4 slaps on the palm, I finally managed to turn while balancing a teacup. A satisfied smile flashed in the matron's eyes. This child is teachable. In any spare moment, I seized the chance to memorize the text Xue Tingyu had assigned me the previous afternoon. When he quizzed me during his afternoon inspection, I answered every question with ease. Yet his expression grew increasingly grim. After I finished reciting, he handed me a text even more complex and obscure than yesterday's. This time, whenever I encountered an unfamiliar character or a sentence I didn't understand, I humbled myself, addressing him as master and asking for guidance. Xue Tingyu paused, then taught me nonetheless, though his voice was stiff, his entire demeanor rigid. I paid no heed to this, focused only on mastering these texts swiftly so I could learn household management, accounting, and the art of commanding subordinates from him. At the end of the lesson, Xue Tingyu suddenly remarked, "Before, you never cared for reading these. You never even asked me about the texts." I lifted my gaze to meet his. "I will study diligently, Your Excellency," I said. "I shall strive to be a proper and capable crown princess consort, supporting His Highness as equals. I humbly request your continued guidance." His eyes flashed red with anger. He turned and left without answering. It didn't matter to me. Within half a year, I had mastered the essentials. The matron remarked with relief, "This servant has little left to teach the second young lady." That afternoon was Xue Tingyu's scheduled time to test me. I answered each of his questions methodically, until the very last one. "Ah Cheong, why did you change your heart?" I snapped my head up, staring blankly into his dark eyes. Those beautiful, auspicious phoenix eyes were now brimming with sorrow, nearly drowning me. He stubbornly refused to look away, tears falling. "Ah Cheong, why did you change your heart?" I smiled coldly. If my heart never stirred, how could it change? I once thought I liked you, but later realized it was merely a young girl's infatuation with her idol. Xue Tingyu, how pathetic must I seem to keep loving someone who constantly belittles me? The first thing I saw wasn't Xue Tingyu himself, but his magnificent writings filled with compassion for all living beings. It was his written words that first drew my admiration. I believed such a noble man, devoted to the welfare of all, was worthy of my love. But later I discovered this nobleman's love was the most ruthless and deceitful. His care for the common folk was cold and shallow. He wouldn't care about a courtesan nearly beaten to death by the powerful, for in his eyes, he could only see greater interests. As long as the empire remained secure, the unjust deaths of common folk under absolute law held no consequence for him. Just as he once stated, Zhou Han's father, a third-rank official who had benefited countless people, was imprisoned for a minor offense. This would disrupt his father's governance. How much less would it matter for a worthless prostitute? But Chu Heng would not. He would refine the limitations of the Great Chu's legal system, weaving compassion into its fabric. He would show no mercy to any villain. He sent Zhou Han to the Jingzhou prefect, demanding impartial justice. He declared to the world, when the Son of Heaven breaks the law, he stands equal to the commoner before punishment. This was the love of a sage. Before the law, all beings are equal. Xue Tingyu never relinquished his noble identity, deep within his heart. The class system was ingrained. Those writings that once stirred my admiration were nothing but a sham to deceive the world. How laughable that I idolized him for so many years, even aspiring to become a gentleman like him. Now that the examination is complete, Grand Tutor, you may report back to His Majesty. He grabbed my sleeve in a fit of rage, demanding, "Why were you so willing to learn these things when you were crown princess? Why were you so stubborn and unwilling to learn when you were with me?" I shook off his hand, because Chu Heng never used his sister to suppress me. I did it for your own good. I replied coldly. Chu Heng also did it for my own good. He raised me well. In his eyes, I was good no matter what, not because of what rules I knew or what books I read. Witnessing this so-called first gentleman of the Four Kingdoms lose his composure, I could only find it laughable. He thought I was good simply because I was Acheong. As for you, Xue Tingyu, you treat me like a puppet that must live exactly as you dictate. The slightest resistance, and you fly into a rage, hurling hurtful words. I turned and walked away. The past is gone with the wind, too painful to revisit. But the future? Bright as the rising sun. A faint, metallic sweetness rose in Xue Tingyu's chest. He had once he taught her the grace and household management befitting a Xue family wife. He would marry her. Later, he thought, perhaps marrying her first, then gradually teaching her the proper conduct for a Xue wife, would be better. After all, life was long. He would teach her slowly. But when had the little tail that had always followed behind him vanished? That gentle, soft maiden, how had she grown sharp thorns overnight, piercing his hands and heart until they bled? Xue Tingyu didn't know why. He sought a reason, but he found none. Because Acheong despised him, loathed him. When had it happened? His little maiden, once filled with eyes only for him, had suddenly become someone else's, no longer wanted him. Having sailed smoothly through half his life, this was his first encounter with a wall. The inspection concluded 6 months early, and His Majesty personally bestowed the imperial decree appointing the Crown Prince's consort. Shortly after marrying Chu Heng, we journeyed together to Kuezhou for disaster relief. He wore a straw cloak and straw sandals, I too donned plain cloth garments and straw shoes. Half a year passed in a rush. Chu Heng had darkened considerably, and so had I. Our hands had grown rough and prickly. Upon our return to the capital, thousands lined the streets to send us off, singing praises of our virtues. Everyone said the Crown Prince and his consort were a perfect match, a rare pair of kind and virtuous souls. Once, I cared deeply about reputation, constantly striving to meet expectations. Now, I cared not at all. My only thought was to do more for the people, so Chu Heng would have fewer burdens to bear. In the 32nd year of Wenhe, His Majesty passed away. Chu Heng ascended the throne, and I was crowned empress. That same year, I gave birth to the Crown Prince. Peace reigned across the 4 seas, and the granaries throughout the land were full. Xue Tingyu formally became the head of the Xue family and served as the imperial tutor to guide the Crown Prince. After the Crown Prince came of age, he began overseeing the realm, granting Chu Heng and me time to travel the 4 seas. All these years, Xue Tingyu never married. I once asked him why he did not take a wife. He lowered his gaze and said, "I lost my wife. Heaven has punished me, forbidding me from ever having a wife again." This was the punishment he imposed upon himself. It had nothing to do with heaven. The end.